Welcome in to the Chase and Big Joe show, coming in hot here on a Thursday morning. Nick Keyser, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt behind the glass, the greatest producer in all the land. We got a loaded program here for you. Force Company filling in for Joe Dubin and Chase McCabe here today. Big Joe will be back with you tomorrow with Dr. Crane.
Indeed. And I will be in the saddle, back in the saddle with Big Joe.
Yeah.
A little bit of normalcy around here for the most part.
Yeah. Well, it's summer vacation time, and it's a Nostalgia Thursday, by the way.
Yes,
so
it is.
We're going to take some trips down memory lane. Hopefully, if you have some thoughts, you text us on our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, or go over to the YouTube chat. That was pretty lively this morning on the morning show, by the way. Robbie had a sleep study done last night, and we had some good comments this morning.
Okay.
But
hopefully Robbie's okay from the sleep study.
I hope so. But real quick here, let's get into it. Nutrition. Connor,
what you got for
how you doing?
Yeah.
How are you this morning, Connor?
First off, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Second, we changed things up today, gentlemen.
Did we?
Pancakes.
Pancakes.
Yeah.
What kind of pancakes?
The Eggo microwavable kind.
Oh,
It's the best
come
kind.
on.
I was in a rush.
Hey, I don't blame you there.
Hey.
Wait, Eggo's makes pancakes? I thought
Yeah.
they made waffles.
Yeah, no, they make waffles and pancakes.
Wait,
And French toast, too.
I'm not buying this.
Oh, I'm buying.
Look it up.
Hey, if they got French toast. By the way, I was
Okay, they
telling
do.
Hang on, I was telling Adam Vingan this. I'm going my food rant for the day. This is how I'm starting everything off for Thursday. I was telling Adam Vingan yesterday before the afternoon show. He was talking about Uncrustables. Like, hey, so Adam, what you got in your bag is Uncrustables. Like, ooh, Uncrustables are phenomenal if you freeze them. Obviously, not freeze them, but put them in the fridge.
Yep,
nice and cold. Or I told him you could do an egg wash with cinnamon and turn them into French toast.
Oh,
Uncrustables.
I have seen that before.
I have tried it. It is delicious. And there's a reason
Uncrustables were absolutely clutch in the locker room.
Those
Yeah.
are goated.
Oh, yeah.
for football season at like break or at lunch. I would grab about 3 or 4 Uncrustables and I'd leave them in like a little like small fridge.
Genius.
And after I'd leave my last class for the day, go grab them out of the fridge in the locker room, and then eat one before I guess practice, and then after practice I'd eat one before going to the gym, or I guess the weight room. And the rest was history.
Dude,
Yeah.
you
Coach-
gotta love it.
Coach would stock up on the Uncrustables and the Gatorade energy bars,
Yes.
which are pretty good as well. And
we got Snickers. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I know when I was in high school for a halftime, like I guess it wasn't an electrolytes thing. It was more of just like a sugar boost. We would have a Snickers bar for halftime. It was kind of interesting.
So it's kind of like the Skittles-esque.
Yeah, in a
little bit.
roundabout way. I was
Yeah.
like, sweet, we're getting a freaking.
there's
Hey.
caffeine in chocolate, so that might be part
Well,
of
there
it.
you
Well,
go.
I don't
And we
know.
also got honey with not gingerbread. What's it called? You make your s'mores with it. Why am
graham cracker.
Graham cracker. Thank you. You get graham cracker with honey on it. Man, it was unbelievable.
Okay. Well. Anyway,
That's my food.
That's a nutritional way to start off our program this morning.
Yes, just a
So,
little addition to Newt's nutrition.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd give a little extra context to that. Sorry there, Newt.
Yeah.
No,
Hey, that's okay.
I welcome any and all additions to this conversation.
So the first thing you gotta try is Uncrustables French Toast Edition.
Mhm.
Okay,
There you go.
there
Yeah.
we go.
Now the question is, what's your favorite jelly with it? Is it
Oh,
grape, strawberry?
Strawberry is the only answer here.
Has to be
Okay.
strawberry. If it's grape, I'll let it pass.
I like the grape ones. Those are the OG.
I'll let it pass because people are like, oh, grape and peanut butter. It's understandable. But at the same
Mhm.
time, you go to a grape sandwich or something like that, it's a little bit too sweet for me.
Yeah, and I don't do there's some that have the Nutella in it too.
No, I'm not a big Nutella guy.
Oh, y'all are tripping. Oh,
All right, you go to Cracker Barrel. You get the biscuits. What jelly are you putting on?
Oh, it's
Grape.
blackberry.
Go. Okay, actually, that's a great answer.
Yeah, blackberry.
I'll go grape. The Concord
Yeah.
grape.
Concord grape or blackberry, you can't go wrong.
See, my thing is in a Cracker Barrel, you always got to go outside the box because you're not going to get this elsewhere. It's blackberry, and then you go for apricot. That's how I go for it. And then just to feel comfortable with myself, go with strawberry.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
have no hate towards the grape flavor. It's a little too sweet for my liking.
Okay. So on this Nostalgia Thursday, we do have a giveaway that will be coming up, and it is for our rock band. I won't tell you who just yet, but stay tuned for that. We'll have that next hour around probably 10:30, I would say. So stay tuned for our rock giveaway. We didn't do that yesterday, by the way. So we'll kind of catch up on that. But fellas, on this throwback nostalgia Thursday, we've kind of gone down memory lane a little bit. What's our question of the day? I know that you two were kind of mulling over that, Briar. So
yeah, I think we'll go with it. We'll roll with it, Connor. When you were a kid, what was your go, I guess, toy? I mean, some people had like a Tonka truck. I had a Tonka truck back in the day.
We're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
Here. You're gonna hear how young we.
Obviously, wrestling action figures were a big thing for myself. My brother had them. I mean, it was a big to do back in the day. I'm trying to think what else. I had an electric little motorcycle would ride around the neighborhood in. That was kind of
those are pretty cool.
a lot of fun. But yeah, that's kind of the question of the day. Fellas, will open it up to you guys as well.
Yeah.
But to the audience as well listening, what was your go-to toy as a kid?
Yeah, 615-737-1025. Call and let us know. Our chat is down on the text line, or go over to YouTube as well. I just tweeted that out. I'm at Keezer Nick, so that's where you can find the link, or just go over to YouTube. Pretty plain and simple. Go to the Chase and Big Joe show. We're filling in Force Company. But, fellas, let's talk about some headlines that we've seen within the last 24 hours from when our show ended yesterday up until now. I think what headlines it for me, at least, is seeing that Greg Berhalter, I just had it in my update actually, coming into this program, is the fact that he just got relieved of his duties. And Frazier, I feel like this could be the case. I mean, it pretty much was a year, but was it a little bit under a year from when he got hired last summer as the new head coach?
Yeah, when he got hired and fired in that weird situation.
Yeah.
It's been around about a year now.
Okay.
But, I would definitely say it was the right move for the U.S. men's national team to move on from him, just because it got stagnant, it got stale.
Mhm.
Didn't really invest into the future of the U.S. men's national team. Like,
Nope.
For soccer fans in the area, they all know that this team right now currently is like the golden era of, I guess, talent for the U.S. team, just from my perspective, because a lot of these players are playing in Europe. They're playing with the best of the best. They're not playing in the MLS. Like, some of them might be playing in the MLS on this roster, but it's very minimal.
Yeah, like Shaq Moore. Yeah.
Right. Shaq Moore, Walker Zimmerman, and so forth. But not a lot of the guys are playing in the MLS, which is a good sign to know that they're playing at the highest level possible.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think, there have been rumors about Jurgen Klopp. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know.
Just because when he retired, or I guess stepped away from soccer with Liverpool, he mentioned that he wants to enjoy life, and I don't blame him. He's been around the game for so long. You've won your championships.
I
Go enjoy
agree.
life. But as for Nashville, as for the U.S. men's national team, they're in a little bit of a pickle, because I feel like BJ Callahan was kind of their next in line type guy, but then Nashville ended up snagging him.
Yeah.
That's just how I looked at it. I think that was
Sure.
the way that the U.S. men's national team kind of go hire from within.
I agree.
And they can't do that now because BJ is now in Nashville. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing there.
Newt, do you got a headline from the last 24 hours or so?
Yeah, it's a little minimal compared to that, but over on Netflix, the creators, if you've watched Quarterback with Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota, they just released a new show. It's called Receiver, and it features
They got Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra,
who tours-
Justin Jefferson,
Yep.
George Kittle, Debo Samuel,
Mhm.
and there's one more.
Is there?
There might be.
I think there's 5.
Yeah,
Is there
there's-
5?
There's 5.
There's 5.
I watched the first episode last night.
I haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet, but
It's really good.
if you're looking for something to hold you over till football season, there you go.
It's Devontae Adams.
Yes,
Yeah,
there it is.
That's what you're looking for. But that is a pretty cool series. I have not watched it yet. I'll probably go home and watch some. All of the episodes came out at once. I think it's 8 episodes from what I saw.
Yeah.
So that is pretty cool. I'll have to get started on that. Are they hour long?
Yeah,
Are
about
they? Okay.
Normally, that's kind of the baseline of any episodes
Yeah.
now on any streaming platform is an hour.
For sure.
I'm just glad they released all the episodes at once. Like, I can't stand when certain shows, mainly like the Disney Plus shows with the Marvel and the Star Wars,
Yeah.
they just release them weekly, and they're all like
Well, they're trying to
30 minutes.
Yeah, but they're trying to keep that nostalgia feel of like real television. You gotta
Yeah.
wait till next week to see
That,
what
and they want
happens.
your money. They don't want you to
Yeah.
That's
buy
true.
a subscription for a week and then cancel.
That's
Very,
true.
very true. One thing we'll hit on later, but I don't want to glaze over this whatsoever. And I did a big series last summer about, the 25th anniversary coming up for the Nashville Predators. And one player I didn't get the pleasure of speaking with was Greg Johnson. And yesterday, Alex Doherty from the Tennessean, led off that report with saying that he did have CTE post Martum, just kind of talking about how his body was studied after he passed away. He passed away from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Horrible story to have happen for a former Nashville Predator. He joins Wade Belak as a gentleman that passed away from the same way, but a tragic thing. And we'll talk more about it in terms of what can the NHL, even the NFL, do better about handling their players' safety long term. So that'll come up next hour. But that was something that stood out to me as well. And then also last night, I don't know if you guys watched, but Team USA took down Canada in basketball before they get ready for the Olympics. Any takeaways from that one? I know that Dylan Brooks was talking his smack like he usually does.
They got off to a bit of a slow start, but I mean, they figured it out. Seeing that LeBron or the Curry alley-oop to LeBron
That was cool.
was magical. And I'm not a big LeBron James fan, but like for me specifically, that was my middle school era, is watching, LeBron and Curry go at it all the time. So to finally see them on the same team in something that actually means something, it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we're off to a roaring start here on Chase and Big Joe show. Force Company filling in for you today. Big Joe will be back tomorrow. He's live 2 to 6 today with Adam Vingan. So lots to touch on here. We didn't really get to finish our bold takes from the NFL yesterday. I want to revisit kind of what we had going on there, talk about some new ones that we wanted to go over. And then, like I said, we'll talk more about the CTE cases across sports. How can that be handled a little bit differently? We'll dive into Newt's notes as well. Connor's got a juicy one this morning, so stay tuned for that. We'll also pick up the Predators conversation. How did they look on the blue line moving forward into next season? Alex Carrier caught up with the media yesterday. So what did he have to say? And we just talked about Team USA in hoopskaball, as one of my friends likes to say in my friend group. But we'll touch on them going to the Olympics as well. But the Chase and Big Joe show is brought to you by the Omni Nashville Hotel. Plenty more to dive into here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Welcome back into the Chase and Big Joe Show. Force Company filling in for the Suit and Joe Dubin. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Getting a little bit into some bold NFL takes ahead of this coming season in the fall. We didn't really get to finish this conversation yesterday, so I wanted to revisit a couple of things that we went over. I know I talked about maybe Derrick Henry rushing for less than 800 yards this coming season. I think I maybe said 900 possibly, but I do think he's under 1,000 for sure with Baltimore. But there's a few other ones as well. I got some New Orleans Saints things that I wanted to bring up as well. But, fellas.
Real quick.
Okay.
It's TV Thursday. Do you know what show this is?
Oh, man.
It's an 80s show.
It is an 80s show. It sounds familiar.
Think Talking Cars.
Talking Cars? I mean, you liked Cars growing up.
Not that kind of car.
No, I know. Frasier? I don't know. Do you know what this is?
Knight Rider. Kid.
Knight Rider.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay. I genuinely would not know.
Thank you
That's
very
not
much.
that is not something I've watched. So point to Frasier.
It's also on VHS for those that still use VHS.
Great
on
show.
Throwback Thursday.
Still holds up.
Still does
great.
hold up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I know I let you guys percolate yesterday on some bold NFL takes for the upcoming season.
Yeah, what do you have, Keisha? Let's hear it.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to touch on, I just mentioned, I got some New Orleans Saints ones. Yeah, I mainly watch the Saints and the Titans. So that's a fandom that I've had for the last 15-ish years, I want to say. There's a fun story with why I'm a Saints fan, but what matters is the take I was thinking of. I'm going to say that this year in New Orleans, they do look like a more fresh team is what I would say. In previous years, they've not looked like they've not been at their best for quite some time. They transitioned away from Drew Brees and whatnot. They also had Jameis Winston, tossing the ball around the yard. I thought he did okay at times, but not great by any means. So my bold take with the Saints this year in the NFC South, I think that Derek Carr and Chris Olave, and notice it's just the division, not the conference. In that division, they will be the best quarterback to wide receiver duo overall with the most combined touchdowns. I'm going to say they have at least 10, and I would say no greater than 15 this year.
Oh boy, that's bold.
You think?
I'm not big on Derek Carr.
I'm not either. Yeah.
I can't do Derek Carr.
It's
man.
a fresh year, man. And Chris Olave coming off his rookie season, I thought he played great.
Derek Carr looks like the kid from Toy Story. You know who?
Oh, Andy.
Sid.
No. The one that
Sid.
blows up
Is it
toys.
Sid?
Yes, Sid. That's what he looks
Sid.
like.
Sid.
That's
oh
a
my
good
gosh.
throwback reference. I love it.
Oh,
I will say about Derek Carr, though, it's just, I don't know if it's New Orleans or if it's Derek Carr, but just the Saints recently, it's just like where wide receivers' careers go to die.
well, yeah, but ultimately they've kind of gotten rid of the main problem that they had in Michael Thomas. So
He's still a free agent.
yeah.
Probably.
Is he a free agent?
Probably.
Let's see.
Probably still recovering his broken toe from 3 years ago. too.
Golly.
Think he's hanging out with Ryan Tannehill right now.
No,
Oh,
probably not.
Maybe. I don't know. No, the Bills, I see on USA Today, it says that they've got a strong odd to get him.
Hmm.
So maybe he goes to Buffalo, but they're not going to be great either.
He's not the same Michael Thomas.
No,
either.
he's not. 31-year-old, and he plays like he's 45 at times. So
When he's out there on the field. that is.
yeah, exactly. So, but that shambly. But no, look, maybe 10. That's why I had it at 10.
I mean, it's fair. It's not wrong. I mean, it's fair.
Yeah. So we'll see what they end up doing with that. And now let's say looking at the playoff, and I'll give you guys one more, and I want to hear some from you and on our phone line, obviously, too. So let me know what you're thinking out there. I think it's interesting that last year we saw the Lions make the playoffs. They beat Tampa Bay. I'm going to Lions this year.
That's spicy. You think they missed the playoffs?
I was, excuse me, was fueled Charles Robinson going in this year. I think it's intriguing. Obviously, they've got Goff, but I just don't have full faith that they're going to be the same team this year. I really don't.
I don't know, man. I mean, when you got the young guns of Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, a generational talent at tight end, I think that's kind of where your offense. And don't. I'm not going to forget Amon-Ra St. Brown. Let's not forget Amon-Ra. I mean, it's fantasy.
Don't forget about Jameson Williams.
Oh
that
You
too.
sleep on Jameson Williams.
You're not wrong.
He at Alabama, and of course, I mean, I think he got
Suspended.
hit with the NFL betting suspension.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
And he's missed some time. But I think this is his breakout year.
When he came back
Okay.
late season, he had some spurts of like promise.
You've seen it.
We've
Yeah.
all seen it. Honestly, that's not a bad look, Connor. Now that he brings that up, that offense does sound pretty high powered, high octane. It's just a matter of, I
Can
mean,
they get it done?
yeah. And Dan Campbell's done a pretty good job with that defense for the most part. Just
Yeah.
like structuring that coaching staff. I mean, obviously people have looked at him as a guy that kind of is on the fringe on a fourth down when the game's on the line.
Mm-hmm.
He has the fringe problem of playing the Madden playbook of going forward on 4th and 5, 4th and 8,
does,
stuff
yeah.
like that. So maybe he's able to turn it around, but I don't know.
So Matt on our YouTube chat, by the way, he commented on my Saints little take there. He said Dennis Allen will finally get fired before Carr throws 10 or more TDs to Olave this year. So I do tend to agree with the sentiment for sure. But these are bold takes.
Yeah.
These are about what I think could possibly happen. Now, the percentage chance of that happening pretty damn slim. So
Hey, that's why they're bold takes.
exactly. So Frazier, you got anything?
I mean,
Newt,
I kind of went with a lot yesterday.
you did, yeah.
I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going to the NFC. I'm saying Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is going to have a breakout season. I say he has over 12 and a half sacks. That's kind of where I'm going with that.
Really?
I like that actually.
That kind of is where I'm leaning towards is Micah Parsons, 12 and a half sacks, because there is one fantasy league that I'm in, and it's like a keepers league. And the two things you get to do is you get to keep a defense and you get to keep a position player. And I had the Cowboys defense. People are probably thinking, why are you keeping the Cowboys defense? Well, I was like, well, you have to keep your defense. So that's just one of the rules in this league. So I'm keeping the Dallas defense that I have,
Okay.
and then a position player. And I believe it's either, if this is the right league I'm thinking about, I think it's CJ Stroud, or the other league that I'm in, it's running back. And I want to say it's Jahmyr Gibbs. So there are like 5 or 6 leagues that I'm in. So I think I kept a running back and a defense. People are probably thinking, why not keep him wide receiver? But
hey, that's all right.
There's a lot of wide receivers to go around.
Well,
Plus, we get the rookies in this year's draft.
And by the way, Parsons does have the heated disagreement with, Dallas about the next contract that he gets.
Yeah.
How motivated will he be for this season? I'd say that's rather bold thinking of something even regarding him.
Yeah, because a lot of players nowadays, like when you sign that big contract, there's the phrase you get fat and happy. And that a lot of people don't like, when your favorite team signs a player to a long-term deal, you're like, well, either you're going to get about 2 to 3 years out of this guy, and then it's going to be fat and happy, and they're going to enjoy their vacation of playing the sport that they grew up loving, and now they're just going to enjoy a nice paycheck.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue with a lot of teams nowadays. They'll sign players to a lot of long contracts for a buka amount of money.
Yep.
And you're only going to get about 3 years out of them.
Buka. I love it. By the way, I'm stirring up some interesting opinions in our YouTube chat now, by the way.
Are you now?
Apparently, this person's not used to having younger sounding children on their radio.
Whoa.
They're like, JK. And then Darnell goes on and says, that's a horrible Lions take, by the way. So I was like, you know what, though? These are bold takes. Darnell, if you got something, then you just got to let us know. So anyway, Connor, one last quick one here.
I'm going to give you a big one.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go back to the NFC South. I'm going to say Bijan Robinson leads the league in all-purpose yardage.
Ooh.
I think that's an interesting one to consider. That's not horrible.
Who's number 2 on that list if you had to give one?
Christian McCaffrey.
Ooh.
The Madden curse is coming.
So you think the Madden curse is going to take over this year? Big time.
Kinda, yeah. And I like the system that Bijan in. You know, I feel like when Arthur Smith was the head coach, he didn't
Utilize them.
utilize a lot of the pieces that he had. It was all, hey, let's have Desmond Ridder throw it down the field to Jonnu Smith or something like
Yeah.
that. But now you've got a new coach,
New quarterback.
a new quarterback, a new system, and you have young pieces. You have Drake London, you have Bijan Robinson, you have Kyle Pitts, who's coming into the league was, you know, touted as a generational tight end talent.
Right.
Bijan Robinson is kind of looked at as a generational running back talent. So I like the situation that the Falcons are in as far as the offense. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win 13 games or anything.
Yeah.
But I like the situation that this offense is in, and I like the possibility of those, you know, Bijan being the X factor for this team, especially their running game.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, hey, if you have an NFL bold take ahead of this season this fall, be sure to comment on our YouTube chat. Our text line is not being driven currently by anything, so we're working on getting a new partner for that. So stay tuned. But
It's in
you
the shop.
yeah,
in the
you
shop.
can call us though. So we want to hear
Still
from
sponsored by
you.
WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Yes,
Let's
it
put that
is.
out there.
Yes.
Still sponsored.
Yes, it is. So any comments you got, we've still got you covered. But hey, coming up next year on the Chasing Big Joe show, one thing I was inspired by after yesterday's report on Greg Johnson, who passed away and was diagnosed with CTE post-mortem, was how can the NFL and the NHL do a better job with protecting their players long term, but also how does that affect today's world of sports? And it's a greater scale for sure. So, but we'll dive into that next year on the Chasing Big Joe show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Tune in the 94.9 The Fan today as the Nashville Sounds take on the Iowa Cubs. Pregame at 6:20 tonight. First pitch at 6:35 with coverage also available on 94.9 The Fan, theapp.com. So, Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is also presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Caudle Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We're back here on the Chase and Big Joe Show. Force Company filling in, vibing on a throwback Thursday with some music. You know this, Frazier.
It's Cheers. How do you
Okay.
not know it? It's phenomenal.
This is
show.
his namesake.
I'm
right
not
here.
an old soul, so
I mean, just it's on VHS.
This is the origin of Dr. Crane, by the way.
did you know what this
it's-
was?
Frasier is the TV show.
Well, Frasier was in
but he
Cheers.
was.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
yeah.
He was. You
Did you
spin-off.
know this show?
Cheers?
Yeah.
I love Cheers.
Oh,
I think it's
what?
hilarious.
I'm just missing out.
It holds
on,
up.
It's
I'm-
on Hulu now, isn't it?
It was on Netflix for a little bit.
Okay.
I watched a lot of it, and then
I'll have to
you
find
know,
out where
life
it is
happened.
now.
Yeah.
I know. I watch Welcome Back, Kotter a lot on Tubi TV.
Don't know what that is either.
Pete Weber loves that show.
Dude, it's phenomenal.
It holds up.
It does hold
These
up.
old shows, man, they
John-
hold up.
John Travolta's in there. I mean, Vinny Barbarino.
These old shows,
Horseshack.
they just hold up for some reason.
And
And
clearly,
to-
I'm missing out.
By the way, Darnell, to the point on the YouTube chat about children, you're talking to the wrong child, man. He's calling me a man child in a roundabout way because
What
80
child knows Cheers?
I'm
I
an
mean, come on.
85-year-old guy inside of a 25-year-old body in a roundabout way.
Hmm.
That's how you got to look at it. But before the break, we were talking about Greg Johnson and the concussions.
We
and
were.
so forth. Elaborate a little bit more on Greg. If you don't
Yeah.
mind.
So real quick, we had Alex Doherty on, but I will kind of go through that little breakdown as well. You know, Greg wasn't the most physical guy in terms of being into fights, but he was a guy that stuck up for his teammates. He was able to kind of, stick up for them. And he was a really friendly guy off the ice too. And tons of stories from Scott Walker talking to me. And then also hearing from Kimmo Timonen as well. And even Scott Hartnell kind of talked about that as well with me last summer. And so it is unfortunate to see that Greg had passed away. And then now we know today it's from CTE, mainly part of the, casualty here, where it's affected him enough to where after he retired, go all the way to, 2019, he's been sitting with this and not really with it being known. And he could have been treated, it
Yeah.
really could have been something that he could have possibly taken better care of. And so, we talked about protection during the break as well and what that looks like. That's our main tier. So, football helmets are a huge thing
yeah.
where they've got to be improved, and they have drastically improved since the 20s and way back when. And Frazier's,
Thanks to our great friend Joe.
yeah,
Dugan.
Frazier's been at some helmets and
For those that watch the stream on a daily basis, I'm about to do some examples here. This is, if I don't hit the microphone, this is a helmet from probably 70s, I'd
Probably.
say, 70s, 80s.
70s, 80s, yeah, for
phenomenal
sure.
helmet design, by the
With
way.
the
I'm not-
TriStar on the side.
Not
yeah.
sure if this is TSU or somebody, but this is a great design.
I don't know.
Joe
but
would
it's
know,
cool.
but I love it. But yeah, this is more the eggshell type helmets. I remember when I played grade school football, we started out in like 4th, 5th grade wearing those eggshells.
Uh-huh.
And man, I had so many headaches just from wearing it. I had probably a few concussions back in the day. I definitely know I had some concussions back in the day later on in my playing days. But then, you go on to modern day football, and obviously this MTSU helmet. Thank you, Joseph Dubin. This is the Revolution Speed, I believe, the Revo Speed helmets. As you could tell, there's a aerodynamics to them. They're more, I guess, on the hard shell. There's more hard shell padding, and then in
Mhm.
the interior, obviously, you can see here. There's a lot more
Plenty of padding.
padding, obviously. But still, I don't think it's enough for the most part. They've obviously revamped these Revo Speeds to modern day.
Yep.
With more technology. And this helmet here, this Shut Vengeance, this was the helmet I used my senior year of high school. And if you could tell in here, there's like blue padding, and then you have the black leather padding for those that are watching on the stream. And then there's also these air pockets inside these Vengeance helmets.
There are, yeah.
And there's like a dot here somewhere.
And it all spaces out inside.
Here we go. Inside these little air vents here, inside the front part of the temple
Uh-huh.
area of the helmet, they're little like air pumps. And so when you pump those little air pumps, you can, adjust how much cushion you're putting towards your head. And in all honesty, I know this sounds kind of crazy. When I played with a more loose helmet, just as for like protection purposes because
You don't want it too tight.
yeah, I don't want it too tight, give me a headache, whatever. But with this Vengeance helmet, I always had like this issue in the back of my head where it just pressed too much on the back of my head. So I never could really get it figured out. I had to like cut some of it out
Oh, wow.
just so I could get it comfortable. And this was without any air in the helmet.
Uh-huh.
So I may have had too small of a helmet, but
maybe, yeah.
I played with it on, and sure enough, like I had about, I don't know, a handful of concussions. I wouldn't say
Sure,
5,
sure.
but like around that number.
4 at the most, maybe.
Yeah. And, you know, in today's modern age of football and hockey, obviously hockey, the game has changed a little bit to where
Mhm.
you don't see as many fights. You don't see as many
You don't.
heavy collisions on the boards
No.
or anything like that, because then, you know, you get penalties for that and also fines.
Yeah.
So a lot of players are kind of taking that into consideration. As for football,
Yeah.
the game has changed tremendously.
Yeah,
Like,
significantly, for sure.
in a good way. I mean, there were a lot of people that led with their shoulder and their helmet and stuff like that back in the early 2000s. You know, I think D Mace or Willie mentioned it yesterday about early 2000s, you know, NFL, their I guess sales pitch to all their fans was hard hitting smash mouth football. Like
yeah.
that's it. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's still present for this.
Oh, yeah,
today.
it is.
And it's just you don't see as much of the leading of the head into
Mhm.
somebody else or those helmet to helmet collisions, because that's what is really, you know, scary for the most part
it is
for a lot
yeah.
of professional athletes, and especially, I mean, not trying to put myself in this category, but yeah, playing football back in the day, you would either see stars in the middle of practice
I know.
or you just do something along those lines. So you pretty much probably had a concussion,
Yeah.
but just didn't report it. And because, like, you know, depth is kind of an issue on rosters.
It is.
especially.
Yeah, it is.
And-
And I think it's important too that there are people with jobs now that I know even personally up at Bridgestone Arena during NHL games that are spotters for that. And they're on a nice rotation and they have a quota that they are kind of looking for, not to necessarily take guys out of the game, but they're keeping track of, you know, how many guys, you know, maybe have been hit big throughout the game, who's to keep an eye on and whatnot. So that perspective, I've seen a lot more as a journalist now, being in those rooms where I've had the opportunity of talking with some of these off ice officials. So there is that as well. Helmets in a lot of sports are improving, but you know, where do you think it is? 615-737-1025. Share your thoughts with us or go to our YouTube chat and let us know how safe you think contact sports are with the development of these helmets nowadays. And Frazier, I still have a concern, you know, and I have a family. Well, I am married, but it's a young family. When I have kids one day, I am concerned with their health when they start things out. Now, hitting at the right time is when you have to start teaching the right things.
Sure.
Football and hockey, obviously hockey, you don't lead with your head. Let's stay away from that. And that's being coached more often now, I believe, in football. And I've seen it in high school, even too, covering that some for the last 2 years. I have noticed less and less head contact there. I mean, it's still going to happen. You know, head
Right.
contact is going to happen. So that's never going to go away completely, but the technique and the way that it's disciplined as well, that's where this is going to change. You can't just eliminate, you know, head to head contact, because it's going to just happen. Like, it's incidental sometimes as well. And it's also just nature to go into those players and whatnot. But you're starting to see less and less fighting, especially in hockey nowadays, because it's well officiated. And so, you know, I'm not sure how, you know, big of a difference it's been even from Newt's standpoint either. You know, he's more recent out of high school than you and I are, but
Right.
I think it's definitely interesting to see how even parents have approached protecting their kids and what they're having to buy for them as well, what the schools are providing. It's a huge topic of conversation of how to keep kids safe and how to teach that properly.
My mom would not let me play football.
Really?
I didn't get to play football in high school. I wanted to be a part of football so bad. That's kind of where I got started. I was given the opportunity to be a film coordinator in high school. So that's what I did. But I didn't get to play because of, you know, the concerns around concussion protocol and CTE now these days. It's less likely to happen in kids that age, I feel.
Yeah.
But it's still a possibility. And I think that's a lot of where parental concern is right now, is we don't want our kids to be hurt. But at the same time, these kids want to play sports. They want to be participants.
I will
Yes.
say, and this, I'm not condoning any like terrible injuries or anything like that, but it's also a live and you learn type
It
situation.
is.
You know, when you're in, junior high or you're starting to get into contact sports, it's okay to get your bell rung once or twice.
I agree.
And you're able to kind of learn from that. And so it's also a maturing aspect. It kind of helps you just, grow as a person, grow as a human being. And yeah, I like I said, I don't condone any injuries in contact sports at all or anything like that. Try to get yourself in any mess of that regard, but it's okay to get your bell rung once or twice. And
Yeah.
kind of just know where you stand on the
Mhm.
field or ice or wherever it may
Yeah.
be. But Joe Dubin actually is in the office, and he mentioned a good topic about how Australian sports, especially rugby, has just doesn't have many head injuries.
Yeah.
And it's interesting he said that because I, for one, watch the NRL. I wouldn't say religiously, but on a weekly basis, and that's National Rugby League for those that are curious. It's like the NFL, but for the Australian rugby. And so, anyways, they had a conversation on one of their panels on TV, and I guess one of the Australian channels talking about rugby about, say, a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago, about their kickoff format, and it struck a bell with me because the NFL has adopted this rugby style kickoff format.
They have.
And it's to prevent, less injuries and give the kick returner an opportunity to return the ball.
Mhm.
Well, I was listening to the NRL and they were talking about how their kickoff format is dangerous. Obviously, they're not wearing any pads. I understand that, but they were saying that it's a dangerous, meaningless play, kind of resembling the regular old kickoff format for the NFL. It's a meaningless play.
Sure.
So to that point is, well, what's safe and what's not safe? It's off a gauge of whatever that person thinks is safe.
It is.
So for the fact of the matter is, with these helmets, with these shoulder pads, sure, maybe the rugby format does work with helmets and shoulder pads. Maybe not for without them. Maybe that's what the NRL is trying to
Maybe.
look at. But I just found that kind of interesting. It struck a chord with me
Yeah.
of seeing, a league say that it's not safe for their league, but another league saying it is safe.
Mhm.
So it's just something to keep your eye on for
It
sure.
is. Yeah. 615-737-1025. Share your thoughts with us about the safety of contact sports, football, hockey, rugby. Frazier's talked a lot about that ad nauseum. So we'll have to touch more on this at some point. It's a big changing topic. It's an evergreen topic for me, at least, because it's not going to go away. Contact sports are some of the most fun things to watch, but how do you teach that and how do you keep that sport safe? It's a big question. But coming up next year on the Chase and Big Joe show, Newt's Notes.
Oh, yeah.
We have to hear from our man behind the glass. What's he got for us today? The speaker has something to say. And we will do that coming up next year on the Chase and Big Joe show. 1025, 1063, the game.
All right, 5 Points Roofing, 5pointsroofing.com. That's where you need to go. If you got some roof damage during the storms back in the spring, now's a good time to have them come out, check it out. They'll do it for free. They'll come look at your roof, determine if you need any repairs, and then they can walk you through the insurance claim process once they determine what you need. But you got to go to 5pointsroofing.com to set up your appointment. FIVE, spell it out, pointsroofing.com. They're very easy to work with. They will take care of you. Just go to 5pointsroofing.com today.
Welcome back to the Chase and Big Joe Show. Nick Geezer, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt. And for the guys today, it's time for Newt's Notes. That music only means one thing. So it's time to hear from the speaker. It's loud and clear and evident to me that Connor has a lot to say about one big media deal that the NBA has put on. So Connor, without any further ado, take it away, my friend.
Talk to us.
Thank you. Let me talk to you. Okay. So yesterday, the news came out that the NBA has signed a massive media rights deal. The deal is worth $76 billion for 11 years, which is great. My question is how? Okay, so let's go through this. The ratings are on a decline for the NBA. I think that's pretty clear. This finals this year brought in an average of 12.2 million viewers. Not great. Down 3% from last year. In comparison to the other championship series that was going on at the same time, the Stanley Cup final, pulled in 16.3 million viewers. Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final was the second most watched game in North America in history. That's massive. That means hockey is trending upward. I think we all know that.
Yep.
And we can't say basketball is trending downward because I'll put this in comparison to March Madness. March Madness saw an increase in viewers this year, and they were at bringing in around 9.7 million, which isn't as great as the finals, but you got to think the finals are taking place in June. There's not much else going on. March Madness, you got, March Madness is going on. College baseball is getting started, which isn't big nationwide, but it's getting big here in the South. Hockey is heading towards the playoff push. NBA is heading towards the playoff push. So there's a plethora of things to watch that's not just March Madness. Now, March Madness is the number one thing, but I digress. Now, so it's clear that ratings for the NBA are dying, but how did they manage to get this massive deal done? And is it good for the market?
Yeah, no, exactly. These are great thoughts to have. 76 billion. I mean, that's wild to me that they are garnering that much money on this new deal. I don't know how you guys feel about the longevity of what the programs might look like, but obviously with the TNT panel, and by the way, TNT has, I think it's like 4 days to match one of those deals to come back as one of the rights holders. Yeah, I mean, it feels imminent that that's not going to continue.
There are pros to this deal.
Yeah,
to me.
There is.
They made it clear that after football season, which ends in February, you're going to be able to watch an NBA game 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And they laid out a layout. Monday, it's on Peacock. I think it's just one game, but it's a nationally televised game. Tuesday, it's on NBC. Wednesday, it's on ESPN. Thursday, it's on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw that.
Friday, it's on ESPN and Amazon. Saturday is on ESPN and Amazon. And Sunday is on NBC and ESPN. But my thing is, does anyone actually care enough to dedicate themselves to 7 days of NBA mediocre basketball?
I don't think so.
But honestly, I get where the NBA is coming from. They're trying to be NFL 2.0 when it comes to media perspective stuff.
Bingo.
Because if you look at it, Thursdays, Amazon Prime rules Thursday Night Football. And so you look at Prime now, Amazon Prime's trying to run NBA on Thursdays. And same with Saturdays. And we all saw Black Friday and also Saturday as well. I mean, they did Saturday games on Prime as well when during the holidays. So I would not be surprised to see, some increase in numbers for the NBA, especially with this new, I guess, TV deal. Now, is TNT going to counter up and do something else? Probably not, from what it sounds like. Just because Charles Barkley, Shaq, Kenny, the Jet Smith, and Ernie, I don't see any of those guys kind of re-upping.
Barkley made it known that this year is his last year.
Yeah, this
is regardless of what happens. This is it. So I think the other three will kind of sprinkle out. I could see one of them maybe going to ESPN and then the other one maybe going to like CBS or something, Fox Sports, because these guys do March Madness coverage too. I don't think Shaq does, but
no,
right.
I think he guest appears though sometimes.
Ernie anchors it,
yeah,
and then Kenny is on there a lot, and Charles is on there a lot. So I could see them shifting
Yeah.
at least one of them maybe to more of the college
Mhm.
demographic,
Yeah,
maybe.
for sure. Well, we'll have to find out and see if this does pay off dividends. Now, one thing I'm surprised you didn't bring up about this, and this is looking more like the NFL 2.0, Frazier. It's with this deal, 10% of the cap is going up now. So by 2030, from what I read in this ESPN story that I have linked on our show plan, is you could see guys getting paid $100 million, $80 million.
You already are.
Easily. And yeah, you already are. But $100 million by 2030 for multiple players is going to have happen. I mean, that's wild to me that guys throwing around a basketball are going to be making $100 million.
That's
which
my
is
question.
wild.
Where is all this money coming from if your viewership is going down?
Yeah,
Is it internal funding from coming straight out of,
could be.
Adam Silver's pocket or something?
I don't know about that.
I don't know. That's a question that's way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a hypothetical question. but,
Yeah,
like,
it is. And I think a lot of it is going to have to do with, prospective, faces of this league now. Obviously Victor Wembanyama is slowly starting to take over some of the spotlight. Luka Doncic has looked really well the last couple of seasons. And then obviously you've got upcoming drafts that could possibly influence that as well. That's yet to be seen. You just never know what kind of talent is going to end up coming out. But how are they going to make it more engaging in the next 10 years and maybe even shorter than that? How are they going to keep the fans interested in stuff like this? Because look, far and few in between really cared about that in-season tournament. So how are they going to bring the youth into stuff like this? That's what I want to know more.
the
of.
NBA to me might be the only sport that doesn't have, those guys that glue eyes to screens. You see it.
Yeah,
NHL, you're watching guys like Connor McDavid,
Bedard,
Nathan McKinnon,
even Roman Yossi.
Roman
here.
Yossi.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're watching guys like that. NFL, it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who the Chiefs are playing, you're watching them.
I
Yep.
think this is how I perceive the NBA right now. You watch NBA basketball, it's stale, it's stagnant, it's the same product all the time, just about.
Yes.
Mhm.
You got the Olympics coming up in Paris. You have a USA basketball team that are basically all the stars of the NBA. They're going to be on one team. They're going up against different athletes across other nations, all over the world at the Olympics. That's something I'll watch. That's something that's going to attract me to watch because it's something different. Obviously, you implement this new format of an in-season tournament in the NBA. Sure, it's a money grab or something to get people to watch, whatever. But if you go try a different format of like, maybe you have, I don't know, let's use the Lakers, for example. Have the Lakers play 5 or 6 games, maybe overseas, kind of what the NFL is doing.
Mhm.
Like maybe do something like that. I know they did a game last year in Paris, I believe. That kind of had some good little uptick there.
I
but
would say so.
I would just think the NBA, if they want to be a global marketing company, just like the NFL, they got to
Right.
start implementing more NFL ideologies. I don't want to say be a copycat league, but if you're trying to keep your, same fan base and the same amount of viewership,
Mhm.
you kind of have to do that.
You do. Connor, fabulous job. Appreciate your insight on the NBA here and how things are changing for them. So something to keep an eye on for sure. Bill, hang with us. We're going to talk about the Nashville Predators coming up next year on the Chase and Big Joe show. And he's got a comment on CTE, so we'll kind of revisit, how that's going to change the landscape of contact sports as well. So what does Alex Carrier's signing with the Predators mean for the team long term? Also, the Predators blue line. We're going to dive more into that next briefly here on the program. You're listening to the Chase and Big Joe show here at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2 of the Chasing Big Joe show. Nick Keiser, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt, Force Company for the guys. We were here yesterday. We're here right now, but we're going to dive more into these Nashville Predators. They've had a fun off season to keep track of. They spent well over $110 million in the first half hour of free agency. So Bill did not hang on. So, hey, call us back. Shoot us a message if you want to talk about the Nashville Predators. Bill had a CTE comment. Great conversation there. We'll have to revisit that at some point for sure.
Great call, Bill. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. But, we're going to dive more into these pesky Preds and how they're going to look this season real quick here. We're going to touch on some college football later this hour as well. And, hey, don't forget, stay tuned for around 10:30. We'll have a giveaway as well.
How about that?
Yeah, we may have some trivia for you possibly. So it's a rock concert. I'm not going to reveal who it is quite yet, but you have to hang around and find out.
And I'll be there. Come hang out with me.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Hang out with a speaker? At a
You can
rock
hang out
concert?
with the speaker. You can meet the speaker.
Wow.
Wow.
You signing autographs?
No, because pictures mean more.
Hey, there you go.
remember.
Look at
Thank
that.
you. Thank you for saying that.
Very
I'm not a big
nice.
autograph. I mean, I have autographs, but I think I only have a few.
Yeah.
My biggest one is Stan Musial. I have
Really?
his
Stan the
ball.
man.
Stan the man.
Third
But-
base statue, by the way.
Yeah. Pictures mean more because you're there.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
I'm with you on that, Connor. I do think pictures
like that.
last a lot more.
I have some pictures with some cool folks as well. So, but anyway, without any further ado, let's talk about these Preds, guys, because the blue line has obviously been a staple for this team ever since they started things up. David Poyle built it, and look, he's going in the Hall of Fame for a good reason. I think part of that is honestly drafting good defense and also developing that as well. Obviously, Shea Weber is going in with him in the Hockey Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Fame, but the Hockey Hall of Fame up there in Toronto, Ontario. So very cool to see. But we talked to Alexander Carrier yesterday as media, and I had a lot to take away from what he had to say about the future of this team and the excitement level. And also, one thing I found interesting as well. But before, we talk more about that, I want to, throw a clip at our listeners because this is what Alex had to say in regards to when thinking about when he knew that he would resign. It took a long time for him to kind of get through this process. And yesterday he mentioned how he did a lot of meditation. He did a lot of talking with his mentor, or not a mentor, but it was a mental health coach in Montreal. But this is what Alex had to say on Willie and D-Mace earlier in the week, talking about when he knew he'd be back with the Nashville Predators.
So when did you know that you were coming back? Obviously, it wasn't announced until the day of free agency, but everybody was kind of wondering each day where your head was, and because you could have tested the market for sure. So when did you know you wanted to come back and stay with Nashville?
I knew I wanted to stay for a long time. We had discussion during the season. It didn't work out. I know I'm happy here. I love the direction we're going. I love the coaching staff, the players. So I really wanted to come back. We didn't make it to July 1st. We signed just a few days earlier. So I think it was a Saturday or something like that.
So you had it put to bed so you could sort of enjoy just sitting back and watching who Barry Trotz and the team was going to bring in. So that had to be a hilarious text line going back and forth to amongst the players saying, "Oh my gosh, we got Stamkos. Oh my gosh, we got Marsh," or something like that. Had to be a frenzy.
Yeah, we had some good reaction for sure. But yeah, like you said, it was fun to sign before free agency. It was my first time becoming a free agent, so I didn't know exactly what to expect. But it was a very stressful situation, not knowing where you were gonna go, where I was gonna go, and stuff. So I'm glad we did it before July 1st because it was better to watch than being part of it almost.
That was Alexander Carrier. So, fellas, I took a lot away from hearing from him this week, just in terms of expecting what this team could look like. I know in my regard, when thinking of the Predators' future, things have changed quickly and very drastically for what the future looks like. And the Predators added Brady Shea on defense. Carrier's back and presumably will play with his best friend and fellow Quebecois, Jeremy Lauzon.
Quebecois.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So, but look, I think it's interesting that they've decided to bring him back after Barry Trotz said that Carrier would be an own rental pretty much around the deadline. So bringing a guy like him back on a 3-year deal, Frazier, do you trust a guy like him to come back? I mean, he was a proven asset to this lineup last year, but do you think 3 years and trusting him is the right move, especially knowing that for the next little bit here, for the next 3 at least, most of your defense is locked in?
I'd say so. I mean, look at the amount of 3 years, right?
Yep.
What is the, I guess, projected window with all of these new signings? I
Yeah.
know they're like 6-7 deals, but how many years are you getting out of not Carrier, Stamkos? Probably 2 to 3 years.
Exactly.
How many years or so? Probably 2 to 3 years. How many years going to get out of the last guy, Brady Shea?
Mhm.
Probably 2 to 3 years.
Maybe.
So this 3-year deal is a fulfilling 3-year deal, unless there's
Mhm.
something out there at the trade deadline that Barry can't pass up. He's like, oh, Carrier? Yeah, we'll toss him out there. But no, but personally, I think Dante Fabro is more of a guy that's on the fringe
I
than
think
Alex
so.
Carrier.
Yep.
So with that being said, yeah, I like this deal. I like that Carrier's back. It brings some extra depth to the lineup, especially for the Preds. I mean, the Preds obviously getting not releasing, but getting rid of Ryan McDonough back to Tampa Bay puts Tampa Bay in a bind, and then you bring on Stamkos here.
Yeah.
So I think Barry's doing this thing, the Barry mind games, the Trotsy tricks, I guess you could call them. He's incredible. Barry Trotz is incredible with these little deals he's doing.
Yeah.
It's just mind blowing to some degree.
It absolutely is. And 7x7 for Brady Shea, obviously you've kind of got to overpay somewhat on the free agency market. And I thought that Alex's deal was a bargain like that. That's a sweet deal. You go to Costco and pick up your, great stuff there.
Yeah.
Options, which is great. And he has 5 draft picks, by the way, in the first 3 rounds next summer. So obviously, if you want to upgrade something or shuffle pieces, he's sitting pretty.
Exactly.
I mean, this is amazing.
As
So-
I've said before, when you have draft picks and you have a young core in
Yep.
Milwaukee, just allow that young core in Milwaukee to keep developing.
Mhm.
And once they, are finished developing and bring them up to the top
Yeah.
team, all those old veterans, by the time then, will be able to help those young guys along the way, and they'll be ready
Exactly.
for it. So it's a nice little, I guess, evolution, a cycle, a better way to say it. So
yeah,
Preds, I think they're in a good spot going forward.
absolutely. And I'm excited to see what they're able to keep on the blue line moving forward. And you're absolutely right about Dante. And he is a guy on the fence. He signed a 1-year deal around the trade deadline. They had agreed on that deal, knowing that they could possibly keep him longer. It's more of a prove it year for him, I would say. And could it be a big story at training camp? Could it be, hey, Dante Fabro's come in and really solidified himself? And do the Predators recognize that as, hey, he's a trustworthy asset alongside Roman Josi at times? Should we keep him around if something happens to one of our guys we know are going to be here? Because in my mind, I would like to ideally pair Brady Shea with Roman Josi.
Mhm.
Not to say that that's going to happen. I don't know what they're thinking. Obviously, it's too early. And Barry Trotz said, hey, Andrew's got the lineup card, so I'll let him pick and choose who's with who. But we'll find out quickly. That's just the way I think of it ultimately. If you guys think differently, let me know. And if fans out there think differently, let us know at 615-737-1025. What's the future look like on this blue line? Newt, you have a thought on this?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I could see a world where Roman Josi is paired up with Dante Fabro on the first line
Still?
of defense.
You think
Yeah,
so?
I could see it. Why? I mean, my thing is, I know they did this with Josi and McDonough, but Josi and Shea both shoot left.
Interesting.
I would prefer to have Roman Josi, your left shooting defenseman, and then Dante Fabro, your right shooting defenseman.
Okay.
I feel like that would work. But
Yeah.
I'm not the coach. I don't have the lineup card. And I trust Andrew Burnett. He's I mean, look at what he did last year. We
Yeah.
didn't expect anything out of last year, and
No.
they made a playoff push. So.
Yeah. They certainly did. And I think the Preds are set up pretty. Like I said earlier, 5 draft picks going into next summer's draft. So how do they utilize their assets? Can they hold on to pieces? Hey, and by the way, we've gone the entire segment without mentioning that Askarov is a dangling piece for teams as well. So you do have that to think about as well.
You know what I think about Askarov? I think he's a talking piece. I don't
He
think
is.
he's a future guy. I think he's
Yeah.
a talking piece.
I heard
for
you
Preds.
guys this morning on Robbie and Rexroad talking about the Preds need a center. They need
They
someone
do.
to dish the puck to your new additions in Marchessault and Stamkos, plus the guys you already have in Forsberg. Do you think they would be willing to flip Askarov for
A center.
a center?
I don't know if they would get someone ideally for that. That's a good thing to kind of think about. We can kind of table that conversation coming up next here on the Chase and Big Joe show, 615-737-1025. Also, a little bit of Titans breaking news that we'll get up to coming up next. Teron Davenport with a report. So stay tuned for that. You're listening to the Chase and Big Joe show here on 1025 and 1063, The Game. Welcome back to the Chase and Big Joe Show. Here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Nick Keiser, Nick Frazier, Connor Newt filling in for the guys today. While I guess Chase is still at Machu Picchu, but this show is brought to you by the Omni Nashville Hotel. And by the way, the Game Summer Ticket Tour is back. Join our very own Joe Dubin at Yazoo Brewing Company over at 900 River Bluff Drive in Madison on Thursday, July 18th from 4 to 6, as he gives away tickets to upcoming concerts in Nashville, including Def Leppard, Bush, Train, Dierks Bentley, plus a whole lot more. Also get signed up for the grand prize, tickets to a Predators home game next year and a Sounds game and the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. For more details, go visit thegamenashville.com/tour. Guys, we teased it. Some big breaking news here in Nashville as the Titans have signed Jamal Adams to what we think is going to be a one-year deal. Jim Wyatt, Teron Davenport was first on this report. Jim Wyatt does not have the terms in his story, but to quote in this report from Jim Wyatt, Adams traveled to Nashville to meet with team officials. The two sides reached an agreement on the deal, and he was slated to sign the deal before leaving town. He's a former 6th overall pick from the 2017 draft. Adams gives the Titans another experienced player, but also an injury-riddled guy as well. Just last year, only played in 9 games due to a concussion, and his 2022 season was also cut short with an injury as well. Guys, I don't know how I feel about this at safety. They've kind of, filled some things out here, bringing in a veteran. We've talked about Sneed's knees, but now we got to talk about a different vet that brings a whole different type of dynamic to this roster. How are we feeling? Y'all are shaking your heads,
Oh,
but how are y'all feeling?
Connor, would you like to go? Go ahead.
Titans going to tighten.
Yes.
I don't like it. He's injury prone. He's proven lazy, I feel. And frankly, I don't think he was the best option at safety still out there. I would have preferred to see Justin Simmons come to the lineup, even if it's just for a one-year deal. But I'm just not a fan. That's just not – I don't think he's going to be regularly available to the Titans on a week-to-week basis. And maybe it works out. Maybe he's obviously going to be paired up with Amani Hooker, but I just don't see this working out well. And I hope that we expect this to be a one-year deal. I hope it's not worth more than $2 million.
I mean, yeah, you would think.
This is a bad contract. Well, not contract, but a bad deal in my opinion. This is bad. The injuries is what concerns me the most. Obviously, Denard Wilson and Jamal Adams are very familiar with each other in previous years. But, looking at just the injury history, I believe it's 7 injuries, a concussion in 23, a torn labrum in 21. He had a groin strain in 20, a thigh quad tear in 22, a knee strain in 23. What else? We had an ankle sprain / a pull in his foot in 2017. And then he dislocated his finger in 20. And the funny thing is, 6 of those 7 injuries are all on the right of his body.
Isn't that wild?
Which tells you he leads with the right side of his body. He's a hard-hitting safety, understandable. But at the same time, I mean, I get it. I'm now referencing back to Denard Wilson wanting to have that dog on his defense. I understand that, but I don't think you go out and get a veteran like this, especially that's riddled with injuries.
Yeah.
I think here's I'll just take a step back. It will sell you tickets, but it won't win you championships. It will sell you tickets, but won't win you championships.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad in my opinion.
That's interesting.
I will say, to the coaching staff and the future of the Titans, sure, it's probably a good stepping stone to build on. But if the Titans, which the way it looks like, you got to get a guy like Calvin Ridley, you have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, you have all these assets on offense. You try to bolster up the defense a little bit with Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys, they're not young.
I mean, he is 28. You have to hope for some rejuvenation, but he's been injured.
28 plus 7 injuries. To me, that adds up to like 33 years.
I say like 35.
35, 33 years old. We got some juice in the tank.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of this.
So ESPN, their tweet says it is a 1-year deal. Doesn't say a quarter according to what, but I'm going to for what I am seeing so far. But also, too, a question mark for me, at least, this does leave one of their more thin positions, with an answer with a veteran. So, even if he does get hurt, there is that, counterintuitive thought of what can he do if he does get hurt? He is going to be a nice voice in the locker room for sure.
It's fair.
I'm not sure if he's had issues in locker rooms. I don't know what his dynamic is like whatsoever. But, what does this do to Elijah Molden now, too?
Yeah.
That's another question mark.
He
for
has
me.
been an issue in the locker. That's the whole reason he got traded from the Jets.
Okay. So there is that to kind of think about, too. So,
Well, I will say this. Since, 2019?
Yep.
Jamal Adams hadn't played a full season.
I know. It's wild.
Let's see. 2019, 14 games. 2020, 12 games. 21, 12 games. 22, obviously the injury, only 1 game. 23 had 9 games with Seattle, and then goes to the Jets, plays 14. It's not a full season, but yet 14. You're still getting double-digit games out of them. Yikes.
Yeah.
And when he has played, he's been disappointing.
For the most part.
For the most
to some degree. Now, I will say, now hearing that it's a 1-year deal, like I said before, it's a good stepping stone for this Titans organization going forward. For them to kind of build on, because you need that extra veteran leadership on the defense with L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie, and now you have Jamal Adams. There's your veteran trifecta.
Yeah.
In your secondary. But
I mean,
this is a rough signing.
This is. I'm not sure if he's really going to bring, the old flashes that we've saw when he was early in his career. Look, the only seasons he's played more than 14 games, it's 3 seasons, and they were all when he was with the Jets. And quite frankly, even some of that year, he got hurt. And so you have to think about what he does bring to your team as far as maybe a vet goes, but also too, those first 3 years, he did have some sacks. He was able to kind of come through and be another guy to worry about. That's not to say that he's going to come in and be another guy that you have to worry about necessarily. Like you said, it's about the name. It's about what he brings to the organization, maybe intangibly as well. And so, see, while it is nice to have a 3-time Pro Bowl or a first-time All-Pro, those were all early things. So I'm a little hard on this as well. It was a pick taken here in Nashville, 2017, the draft was here. That's something I was thinking of. But, and Joe Rexroth throws this out on Twitter. Well, he just quote tweeted to Ron Davenport, quote, Joe saying that there was a strong push on draft night 2017 to take Adams. John Robinson went with Corey Davis instead. 7 years later, he's a Titan. So what do you guys think about this? 615-737-1025. Call us. Tell us what you think about this breaking news. Jamal Adams joining the Two-Tone Blue on a 1-year contract. Not sure of the terms and details just as of yet. We will continue to dive into this as the day goes along here on 102.5 The Game. But guys, this is going to be a very, very big deal in terms of if this team gets hurt and injured this year, golly.
Let's talk the town, man.
6 wins, 7 wins looks real feasible now, I would say.
I'm looking at this from our friend Paul Kaharski, and this kind of just reiterates what we've been saying. But Paul says Jamal will turn 29 in October. He's only played 10 games in his last 2 years and hasn't played a full season since 2018.
Yep.
And that was his second season in the
Yeah.
league.
Well, I'll say this, and we could probably get to it more on the other side, but, Denard Wilson and Jamal Adams, they have some familiarity in the 18 and 19 season when he was with the Jets. Obviously, as Tyrannus tweeted out, a Pro Bowler during that time. So, and looking at his stats then, stats were really good under Denard Wilson. So maybe Denard Wilson can channel the, youthfulness of Jamal Adams and play him to his advantages. And maybe that's the case. I mean, you got to have some familiarity with players and coaches. Maybe that's what we're getting at here. But as from a paper standpoint of stats and in recent years and injuries, this is just it leaves me jaw dropped.
Yeah, it is weird. And like you said, he is familiar with Denard Wilson. The two were with the Jets back in 2019. So we'll see how this all shakes out for the Titans. We'll continue to get your reaction as well on our text line or our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. Jamal Adams is a Titan. How do you feel about it? we will continue to talk about the signing with the Titans here on the Chase and Big Joe show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Points Roofing, 5pointsroofing.com. That's where you need to go. If you got some roof damage during the storms back in the spring, now's a good time to have them come out, check it out. They'll do it for free. They'll come look at your roof, determine if you need any repairs, and then they can walk you through the insurance claim process once they determine what you need. But you got to go to 5pointsroofing.com to set up your appointment. FIVE, spell it out, pointsroofing.com. They're very easy to work with. They will take care of you. Just go to 5pointsroofing.com today.
Welcome back into the Chase and Big Joe show. Force Company filling in for the guys today. We got some Titans breaking news this afternoon, early morning for you. Whatever time of day it is, it's always a weird midday. But Jamal Adams is joining the Tennessee Titans on a one-year contract. No details just as of yet, other than it being just a one-year deal. Adam Schefter tossing this out just for some context for the Titans fans listening this morning. So I found this interesting. And then I want to get to Nick Frazier. He is fueled up for something passionate that he's got to share. But before he gets to there, I'm going to share this that Schefter tweeted out on Twitter. He says that the Titans are giving a contract to Jamal Adams, and his agent, Kevin Connor, also represented Rand Carthon back when he was in the NFL, and also Rand's father Maurice and Jamal Adams' father George were teammates with the Giants. So the fraternity continues. When you want to add someone that you know what kind of product you're going to be getting. We just ran through that last segment. He's an injury riddled guy. Can he be at all a shell of himself this year? That's yet to be seen. It's a storyline going into training camp. What does this do for Elijah Molden? The depth is there. But without any further ado, I know Frazier's fueled up about the Titans right now. So what is grinding your gears, as Peter Griffin says?
I don't understand this like friendship thing. Like, I get it. You got to have some familiarities with people. But number one thing, what got Mike Vrabel fired? He hired his friends. Do you not agree? I mean, hiring people from previous stats that you've had, like, I understand. And I get it. Yeah. Agents, that's another thing. But when you have that familiarity with too many people, come on. Then the clock's ticking.
I find it ironic that they've spent this whole offseason talking about how they want to build a culture of winning and what say you. And then they sign Jamal Adams, who's a diva, and B, probably the most injury-prone, overrated safety in the NFL.
Yeah, probably just on the market in general. So
I'm frustrated because the Titans are just spending money like there's just no bottom to the barrel, and they just keep spending money on old veterans that have probably already seen their prime.
You said it best. This is a Madden right here.
This is, yeah. I tweeted out, I was like, oh, the Titans are playing Madden franchise mode, except with no injuries, and you can't restart your Madden franchise if things go wrong. If things don't go right for the Titans and Will Levis doesn't pan out to be the quarterback of the future, that's solely what this puzzle piece is. If Will Levis does not succeed under this Brian Callahan offense, the Titans are in some hot water. Like, we're talking about needing another quarterback, all these older wide receivers that probably can still produce on other teams that are more Super Bowl contenders. The Titans, in my opinion, can be Super Bowl contenders if they play their cards right, if Will Levis is the next guy of the future. Personally, I'm just not sold on him yet. I'm not.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, I'm just confused. I'm confused as to what direction the Titans are really wanting to go. Yes, they want to build this culture with the team. I get it. But where? Well, that Jamal Adams is not a guy to build culture around.
Yeah, I agree. And on our YouTube chat, I want to get to some thoughts here as well, Nick, because this is something to definitely react to. So, yeah, Jamal Adams at safety. Simmons is going to cost too much, by the way. We will be fine with Adams. He's better than Molden. I mean, yeah,
it's not saying much
that's not saying very much, like you said, Newt. Yeah, but the distinguished gentleman also goes on to say on YouTube, we will be fine. Shake my head. This is just doom and gloom. And look, we know it's doom and gloom because of a different reason. You're saying doom and gloom because we're just shutting down the idea that he could be a good player. We want him to be good. We're talking about the facts. We're talking about how we know ultimately he is a injury riddled player that has been proven to not play. It's so easy to hit on this. And look, I get it. And Top Tier says they still have over 20 million. I get it. This doesn't matter. They've gone in. They can certainly make a different change, but clearly they've put their line in the sand with how they feel about this team. And look, Blake, I just want to share this thought. Blake Bedingfield also chatted with Paul really quickly, probably a text message that Paul shared on Twitter. And Blake Bedingfield is a former director of scouting, 19 years Titans, by the way. He says that, yes, he's not, played a full season since 2018. He has only played 10 games in his last 2 years, but he brings an attitude and energy with his play, and it is contagious. Frazier, you kind of went on your tirade there. How do you feel about that?
I mean, that can only get you so much in a season. Is that energy and excitement going to get you 7 to 8 wins? No, it's not. I know I didn't play football at a high level. I played up to high school, but that only got you so many wins. You can't go play football on high energy. You got to be able to be fundamentally sound. And if your body can't supply that fundamentally sound football anymore, I'm sorry. It's not a good addition. Same as that. I don't know how else to describe it. The Titans have swung for a home run and unfortunately have struck out.
Yeah, exactly. There's the big swings that we've seen with the Preds, with their veterans, the Titans. It's eerily, you know what? It's becoming eerie that things like this are happening for both franchises. Now they're different sports where they go, hey, like let's go get a proven veteran.
And let me say this one thing about those out there saying, well, how can you say it's already a miss of a home run if he hasn't played it down for the Titans?
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, from the stats that are provided, injury history,
Mhm.
nothing tells me that guy is going to play the whole entire season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
No way.
That's exactly how I feel too. Share your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Call us or go to our YouTube chat and share your thoughts. We've got things rolling right now. So please let us know what you think about Jamal Adams signing a 1-year contract with the Titans. No terms have been disclosed as of yet. I mean, he's probably not going to come in very expensive whatsoever. I would assume if you would have to be a good GM to go, all right, here's your base. Maybe it's a veteran league minimum. I don't know what it is, but maybe give him the signing bonuses.
It blows my mind to the fact that when you sign a guy like Jamal Adams, you could easily try to stay away from the injury aspects because the Titans, the last couple of seasons, have been riddled with injuries littered all up and down the roster.
Worst in the league.
Yeah.
The last 2 years before. Yeah.
And you go and sign a guy that is injury prone.
I know.
I understand the 1-year thing, but it also tells me as well, and I'll probably tease this to the next segment,
right,
another safety in the league that they probably didn't go after and get.
Well, we'll talk more about that coming up next year on the Chasing Big Joe show. But, let's talk about some potential ideas as well. And I know we have mentioned, Justin Simmons being a guy out there that is of interest as well that the Titans couldn't and got. I would trust a guy like that, honestly, more over Jamal Adams. Now, given the fact that Justin's a little older than Jamal, I know that Jamal will be 29 in October, like it was already mentioned. Look, Eddie Jackson was still out there. Quandre Diggs, 31-year-old, he was out there as well. Micah Hyde, he's another guy to look at. Tracy Walker. I mean, guys, there were options. And I don't know if I necessarily trust this idea about what's been going on here with the Titans. They've been getting older. They've been trying new things with Rand Carthon, but this is a move where it can start snowballing into, all right, Rand, you were cooking. We've been talking about Rand cooking. This is a job on the line with this type of signing, if you ask me. This is a huge, huge swing on an idea and not necessarily something is a proven commodity. 615-737-1025. We will continue to react to the Tennessee Titans adding veteran Jamal Adams to their lineup. Now, what does that do for them moving forward? We will continue this conversation coming up next. You're listening to the Chasing Big Joe show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Welcome back into the Chase and Big Joe show here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game on a throwback Thursday with some TV themes. I still don't know what this is.
You don't know what
by
this
the
is?
way.
Do you know what this is, Nick Frazier? What is it?
Dukes.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh,
You know what Dukes of Hazzard is?
it's been a long time.
It's where they're crazy guys. They drive
We're gonna
the
give them a
car.
list. We're gonna give a list. of lives.
We'll write you down.
Okay.
All right.
Well, hey, in case you missed it, some breaking news here this hour. Jamal Adams joining the Tennessee Titans on a 1-year deal. The Titans' new defense looks like this. Denard Wilson is the new defensive coordinator. L'Jarius Sneed in that corner. Also, Chidobe Awuzie is here. Jamal Adams, Kenneth Murray, and Sebastian Joseph Day are your new looks on this defense. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. And a better signing for us as a station that we just got squared away. Our text line is back. Text us and call us. I prefer the old-fashioned phone call.
Yep.
But our text line is back up and running. So I know that Willie and D-Mace will be very happy about that coming up here next. But please share your thoughts with us that way as well. You know, that the YouTube stream was fun to go off of for there as well.
Could you repeat that defensive lineup, please, real quick?
I absolutely will. So in case you missed it, Jamal Adams is joining some new faces for the two-tone blue. I'm going to run through this. Frazier has requested who's new. Denard Wilson's obviously the new coordinator on the
Right.
back end. You have L'Jarius Sneed, Chidobe Awuzie, Jamal Adams, Kenneth Murray, and Sebastian Joseph Day. That's your new look defense right there.
I am petrified. Petrified in two different ways.
So I have
One, the fact that I could probably run about a 12 yards up the middle on that if Jeffrey Simmons is not playing and Tavondre Sweat, I could easily put up 12 yards on one rush.
You think so?
Obviously. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you could go grab a lady from a senior living and she could run about 5 to 6 yards on that defense.
Oh my goodness.
So I'll tell you a quick story, and I'll obviously
Go
tie
ahead,
this to the
please.
Titans.
Yeah.
So my best friend he texted me yesterday. He's like, dude, I think I'm in love with this girl again. He's been going after this girl like 10 times.
Okay, continue.
And I was like, dude, no, you're not. He's like, what do you mean? I said, you're in love with the idea of her. You're not in love with her. That's the say. Rand Carthon is in love with the idea of Jamal Adams. He's not in love with the player. He's in love with the idea that Jamal Adams could be an all-pro safety again and, you know, carry this Titans defense to a AFC South title or whatever. But it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just not. He's not that player anymore. And the stats don't lie. The stats prove my point here.
Yeah.
He's not that guy anymore.
He's got more injuries than he does anything else in his career for the most part in terms of awards or any important big memories, I would say. I mean, he's got some big plays for sure. Don't get me wrong. But he's been riddled with a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So-
And, like, to the point of just that defense that he read out earlier, it obviously sounds like a lot of smash mouth football that we talked about earlier that is still present in today's football for the most part. Denard Wilson's known for his, blitzes for the most part in his defensive schemes.
Jamal could thrive that way,
Yeah.
possibly.
But you're not going to get a 28-year-old injury-riddled Jamal Adams. Yeah, I think Denard Wilson got the best out of Jamal Adams when he had the chance, and that was with the Jets.
I agree.
Now you're not going to get that same hard-hitting Jamal Adams. I could be wrong. Now
Maybe.
that's where Jamal Adams could easily prove myself and a lot of others wrong.
Absolutely.
But this is I'm still befuddled that the Titans thought this was a good idea to sign Jamal Adams as a 1-year. I get it. It's a fill the gap type signing.
Yeah.
But my, you can't be doing this.
I know. It's
These are signings that can get you fired. I know that's
what I was saying. Yeah.
I know this is only one true offseason with Brian Callahan and Rand Carthon, and people give Rand Carthon the benefit of the doubt last year with the Mike Vrabel thing, but the clock's got to start. It has to start.
I think I mean, it probably has for the last year.
And that's the sad thing about the Titans right now is if you're going to start the clock on your general manager right after you fire the other one or fire your coach, that speaks volumes about the front office.
yes,
It's like
it
you
does.
said earlier. I think it was Keiser. The Preds and the Titans are going opposite directions right now.
Well, I said eerily similar with adding veterans, but yes, I think in terms of what their approach is,
It's interesting
big
to
difference.
me how both GMs, like Barry Trotz comes in, makes an instant impact.
Yep.
We're in a winning mode now, especially this offseason where they make these big signings. Rand Carthon, we're still waiting.
We are.
We haven't seen anything. And maybe, I mean, we've seen a few signings this offseason with the wide receivers and the cornerbacks, but they're not those superstar guys either.
No. Yeah.
We're
It's-
still waiting to see the results from what is Rand Carthon going to do?
Right, exactly. And also, too, the way that you have to gauge this on top of weighing Rand's job, because I cannot wait to hear what Jared says in terms of all the signings now, adding all of this thing up. This is when I've wanted to hear him the most now, is in terms of the Titans offseason. You also are paying Kenneth Murray, a guy that coming out of LA really didn't do much there either. And you gave a guy like that 2 years, $15.5 million. Now, look, you're giving guys money that need a chance to prove their worth in the NFL. How about getting reliable players that you know are going to fit your scheme? Now, ideally, in a perfect world, this is how it will work out, is that they will. But in sports, you've got to figure that out. So, and we are getting some good reception on our text line, by the way, just a little bit of some really good happy thoughts here. Now, I think one thought I'll share real quick, and I'll continue to hear from you guys. And I think this is a good general most fans that are Titans related feel right now. We had 3938 says, I just don't understand this. I believe this was a cheap signing to just fill a hole on the roster. Worst signing so far. I
Amen.
could not agree more.
Amen. That's exactly how I feel right now. I'm quite upset. You know, when you've lived in Nashville your whole life and you're hoping to see a professional sports team actually put out a good product out there, I'm hoping the Titans put out a good product.
Yeah.
But again, the ceiling for this team is 10 wins. The baseline needs to be 7. And if it's anything below 7 now, because apparently, like you guys talking about the Preds and the Titans comparison, they're getting veterans, but also developing the youth.
Yep.
Whatever youth is on the Titans roster isn't that good.
No.
It's not like you got a few here and there like Tajay Spears. Chikakonko needs to step up. That's another youthful guy that needs to step up.
Right. Yeah.
Traylon Burks, obviously, everybody knows the narrative on that, has to step up his game as well. There are a lot of young guys on this Titans roster that need to step up to the
I know.
plate.
Exactly.
And when you have veterans, prime example, back to the Will Levis conversation, you surround him with veteran wide receivers, and if he doesn't produce, your franchise will be set back for another years.
I think it could be worse than that, honestly, at
Maybe.
this point. And you're exactly right. Looking at the draft, too, you have further to because you have Tavondre
You hear-
Sweat.
I'm sorry, you hear sirens.
The
That
ambulance
is the
outside.
sign of concern for the Titans right
Yeah.
now.
Quick prayer.
I know.
Yes.
Tavondre
Yes.
Sweat is in. Cedric Gray is in. Jarvis Brown, James Williams, and Jalen Harrell. That's all from the draft in the spring. And those first 2 to 3 guys, you're left wondering if they can develop well with this organization now. And we're worried about Sweat, if he's burning enough sweat to actually become a reliable player this year. Now, rookie year, albeit you can give him some grace, but he wasn't around for OTAs. And then you've also got Cedric Gray, who could be a factor in some areas, but there are just more questions than answers when you have the reliability of the Tennessee Titans, and it further boosts people's distrust in the organization with the signing today.
Going back to Frazier's point about if Will Levis can't succeed under veterans, if he's the guy, you're not getting a quarterback this year. Who are you going to go get? Mr. I'm undefeated in the SWAC, Shador Sanders?
And you don't go get Quinn Ewers either.
No. Carson Beck? I don't
I like
him
him better.
I don't mind Carson Beck, but are the Titans going to be drafted number 1 overall?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
And what have I said, Connor, about the Titans and Will Levis? They're going to Will
Ruin.
Levis will, yeah, they're going to tighten, but also Will Levis is going to show enough promise for the Titans to be like, yeah, we're going to sign you to another certain deal because they have no other option. They're going to have no other option after
That's the
this
game,
year.
though. That's what the Jaguars just did with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and the Titans are going to have no other option but to sign Will Levis.
I know. This is very
And out, the Titans have no other option but to sign.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be left with some veteran wide receivers that, one, may leave, two, may come back, maybe on a cheap deal. That's the problem.
And when those vets leave, then you have to look at your draft reliability. You know, how well are they able to even replace those players for the next few years? In the next 5 years, this team is going to be well out of the playoffs. They're going to have a bunch of issues and a bunch of holes, and they're going to be another bad team for a long time. And by the way, you can't forget, what is this team going to have in 2027? By the way,
New stadium.
a new stadium. This is going to set things so back. Do you want to be a bad team your first year in your new stadium?
It worries me for the Titans' sake in this situation, because if you're in a tough spot roster wise, you're gonna have to sell off a big player.
Gosh,
And
it's going to
that's-
happen.
That's the thing I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And I really hope Jeffrey Simmons is not that guy they end
I
up
know.
selling off.
I know. Tough day to think about what could be going on. Fans are livid. Fans are somewhat happy that they've brought in a veteran. But look, you have been listening to the Chase and Big Joe show, Force Company filling in for the guys the last 2 days. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys. Connor Newt's been behind the glass hanging out with us as well.
Been fun.
So shout out to y'all, and so glad that we have our text line back, 615-737-1025. I get there's negativity, but Willie and D Mace are coming up next year on 1025 The Game. Maybe they've got some different thoughts on some positivity long-term wise. I know we'll have more this Saturday. Force Company signing out here on the Chase and Big Joe show here on 1025 and 1063 The Game.
See ya.